Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Overwatch video. In today's match, I'm going to be playing as both Junkrat and Mercy. Mercy first. We're on defense on Watch Point Gibraltar, and the last point on the payload is very condensed, so Junkrat is incredibly useful there. He has his mines, he's got his ult, which can just take out everyone because like all the enemy team is going to be trying to get to that last point, and your spawn for the defense team is right next to that last point. So it's pretty hard for an attacking team to get in there unless they get really lucky and completely get like a team kill or something. Or the enemy team composition, or the defense team composition isn't very good or organized, or basically it has to be like a fault of the players, or the enemy team, the attacking team, has to be like super lucky or good. And I kind of wanted to get into that a little bit with this game in general in Overwatch. And I saw this criticism come from Nick Capozzoli on Twitter. I think I'm saying his name right. He had a really good point, and I've been thinking about this a little bit as I've been playing lately, especially as I've gotten to a higher experience level, at least like just like the level. The levels in the game don't necessarily mean you're good. They just mean you've played a lot. And now that I'm in a matchmake with people that are near your level, so now I'm playing with a lot of people that are actually pretty good. So, or like, they're good, but at least they're experienced. I mean, necessarily, they might not necessarily be good, but they've played the game. They kind of know the maps now, generally. So one of the things I'm noticing too is that the game really benefits from having people be grouped up. Nick's kind of criticism of the game was that he finds, and this is his experience, and I find it occasionally, actually I find it more than occasionally in my experience, where teams that do good in this game are very grouped up, and not necessarily organized. That's the key thing, is like grouping up in this game, because of the way the heroes are designed. Not a ton of them are great on their own. They're better, they like can kind of flourish with other people, either taking attention or actually just like saving them. Like this Mercy, you know, she just cannot do anything by herself pretty much. I mean, her weapon does okay damage there, but you need tanks, right? I mean, that's the whole point of the game, is to have these different classes of characters, so that way they all can work off of each other. The problem is that, you know, some of the characters can go on their own, but none of like them can really make huge plays like very often, and that's fine. Like, you don't want the whole game to be just a highlight reel of awesome kills by Reaper, but like I think the game needs, I don't know. I mean, it's not that the game needs a change. I just find the game doesn't really kind of like encourage people to kind of go from the back lines and take people out. I mean, you can, and sometimes it's very successful against, like, if it helps you be successful against the team, but it's just tough, and the risk reward there is very hard, especially since the respawn rate, like, you know, if you don't actually kill anybody by going all the way behind an enemy line, and then you have to wait for the respawn, and that can like kill some of the flow, especially for your team. And there's just a lot of like benefit to being together. And when you're playing with random people, with characters that don't seem like they should be together, like when you look at like McCree or Reaper or Tracer, they don't seem like characters that really need that much help, but they kind of do in a way. Like, they don't need like physically close help. Like, they don't need a character that's actually near them. Like, I'm not going to heal a Tracer, but Tracer needs people to move in after she tries to clear out like maybe a healer. If she goes in and takes out a Mercy, she needs people to move in and take that advantage. And you can see this in pro plays. I was watching a shot caller video, which basically just means pro players playing with other like budding pro players, and they're calling the shots on what they should be doing while they're playing live. And so I noticed in that video is that like the pro player that was kind of directing the team was really helping them push whenever they had the opportunity to like get through like maybe a Reinhardt shield or something, because like as a group they were just like this big steamrolling machine, and they could really win or kind of like change the tide of the game because of how like aggressive and non-aggressive they were playing. And that's kind of how like a lot of the pro play is. Obviously pro play is going to be very different than just playing randoms, but it's clear that the game does appreciate like people playing next to each other and like, you know, taking each other's flanks, covering each other's flanks, I mean, and you know, just overall playing as a very tight-knit team, and that's just a very hard thing that's gonna have to like want, I guess, out of random people, and I don't think it's ever gonna be there. Now I know everybody's like, oh, play with a group. That's the answer. Just play with a group. But that's not always the option, and also the game, has a matchmaking system. Like it's made to be played with randoms too, just as much as it is to be played with a group, right? Otherwise they would like not let you play with randoms. I mean, look at like Destiny or something where you can't play with like random people. You need to use like outside like websites to get grouped up with people, and they could have totally done that. Obviously, it doesn't matter what way you look at it. I mean, you could look at it from like a business perspective where like, okay, you want people to be playing this game and buying it so they don't like not requiring them to have friends or whatever to play, or to go outside and try to find people to play. That could be the reason, but either way, the game is like that, and I think that it's a fair criticism of the game to say that it's tough to play when your team is not really grouped up. I mean, look, I actually, this is a good example. I mean, it's the reason why I chose this video is I was playing as Mercy, and my tanks were just running away. I had Diva, which is already a hard one to heal, and it was hard to heal as Mercy. Now, obviously, I could have switched to a different character like Lucio, and that probably would have helped. But I still think that the game, like, even if I did, there's still a lot of people spread out, and I don't really blame the individual players. I just think they feel like they should be. Like, Soldier 76 is self-sustainable in a little way because of his own heal, so it doesn't seem like he should have to be next to everybody, but he should be covering people's flanks. Now, that's obviously going to be like more advanced play, like to know the map and be like, okay, I know that somebody could be coming through. A Genji could climb up this wall, so as a Soldier 76, I should watch this for my team. That's a big ask for somebody who's just random, but it definitely just becomes clear as you play this game more and more. And also, like, that Soldier 76 has clearly played this game a lot. He was grouped up with me. I mean, I guess I don't know for sure what level he is, but like he has, the game has sort of taught you to do that, but if you don't, typically the games you lose. I mean, typically you just lose games that you aren't together on, and it comes clear in the maps, because if you look at this map right here, Gibraltar, this final point is very condensed, like I said earlier, and it really pushes everybody to be together. Like, there's no way to be spread out at this point now. And it's why I switched to Junkrat, also because somebody else switched to Lucio, which is who I would have switched to if he didn't already, because Lucio has the AoE heal. This was stupid. I don't know why I walked off there. Anyway, watch me die horribly, or die like embarrassingly. So Lucio's very strong here because everybody's going to be coming out of the spawn and attacking that payload. For the enemy team, they need to kind of stick together, because if they go one by one in death chain, then they're going to just die. So this is pretty hard on attack, but if you see here, like, this is going to be, it's going to go like more successfully than earlier, because we're right next to each other. We're able to benefit from each other. We're covering, there's not really that many flanks here, but like, just naturally the map is pushing us together, and it's making these characters sort of shine. And obviously you don't always want to be together like this in a big ball, but I think it's skewed. The design of the game is skewed to where the big ball of players is more successful than like the individuals spreading out, unless those individuals are like super good, like a Widowmaker. If a Widowmaker is incredibly good, a Widowmaker can do a ton of can snipe off a ton of like key players, enemy players, and protect her team. But that's kind of like a minority, right? Like, we're not gonna see tons and tons of Widowmakers constantly super skilled. I've had a few, but not that many. And that kind of applies for a lot of the characters. I mean, if you have a really good Tracer, she can be like taking out the Mercy on the other team or the Lucio, and that would just make the team way weaker. So there are few options for that, but I don't think there's enough. And not that I want any change. I'm not calling for change. I'm just saying this is how the game is, and it's a little flawed. And obviously, like, it doesn't mean I hate the game. It doesn't mean I'm gonna like quit playing. But it's a little frustrating just because, like, if you don't have a team doing sticking together at all, like I had at the beginning of this video, then likely that you're not going to make any kind of successful attempts on stopping the payload or getting a point or whatever it is. Getting a point's a little easier though, because naturally your team is like encouraged to, converge on 1 point. But when you're defending, it's tough because people want to do different things, and even if the attacking team spreads out, your team will naturally want to kind of like spread out and stop them. But like really, if you're all together and you have the right comp, like then you can usually deny anybody who's trying to push and flank you. And that's just how this game works. And it obviously tweaks are going to help, like patches and stuff where like if Blizzard tweaks characters like D.Va and McCree, you might get stronger characters that can go out on their own. Like D.Va is totally a great harasser if you play her right. But she doesn't live very long, so maybe if she got some tweaks, she would be able to go out there and actually be successful. But for right now, this is how it is, and it's tough. It's tough to deal with, especially because like it feels kind of draining when you lose like 3 games in a row because your team just really wasn't sticking together, and it feels like you could have had a little bit more of a chance if they were together. And obviously, like I've said obviously like a million times, but it's clear when your team's not sticking together because you just kind of get like rolled, like the enemy team just completely destroys you. But sometimes that's going to be the case, and I can accept that. Like there's going to be games where you're just not going to do well, and then you'll have, because the game keeps like a 50% chance of like winning and losing. So I don't like fault it for that, like the big hard swings. But it does kind of suck that like when you're playing randoms, there's no way to really corral people. There are the call-outs. You can say like group up, but nobody really, I don't know if anybody actually reads those. I mean, I try to, but sometimes it's really hard. I mean, if there's like a Reinhardt like way in front of everybody and he says group up, I don't know if anybody's going to care. That's just how this game is going to work. And I think it's how it's going to work forever, maybe. I mean, they could really drastically change it, but I doubt it. I feel like there's just going to be small refinements to the characters and stuff like that, and people will just get into a flow, and maybe the general awareness of players will start to grow, and people will understand that, like, okay, this is a map that we need to stick together on, and whatever, like, depending on whatever map and, like, situation you're on. But who knows? Who knows if that's actually what's going to happen? I thought this, you can see Junkrat is, wow, that was a bad Junkrat ult there. But you can see like he whipped out a Winston, like he's annoying them. Mercy's getting reses off. We're denying them. We got a Mei blocking everybody. We're really doing a good job working together, and so is the enemy team. The enemy team almost get it here, and that's just because we're all converging on 1 point. And we're all really pushing for this one thing. We're not all trying to, like, suddenly now everybody's thinking about the objective, right? Like, nobody's really like, I want to get sick kills. I want to just destroy these people and get them off because we're in overtime and things need to happen. And naturally, that's how this game works, is like, you naturally with the overtime, if the both teams are competent enough, it's going to come down to moments like this where everybody's like at the top of their game, Like, these are rare, right? These are rare moment, maybe not rare, but these just don't happen as often compared to the times when the enemy team just destroys you and then just brings his payload home and you're done. This map is a little bit of an anomaly though, or like an exception, I guess, because this does happen very often on this map because it's so enclosed. But on the other maps, I was thinking of like Ilios, I think. People can just completely just rampage through and grab those points and win the matches. So it just happens, and I don't know if there's anything to do about it. I think that's just how this game is structured, just from like the very core of its design is just how this works. And that's cool. I think that's fine, I guess. I mean, it is discouraging for people who don't want to play in groups. I play in groups quite often, but I do play alone, and it does suck when you're playing alone, and you have to kind of take those losses a lot. And it can be draining, like I said, and it makes this game a little harder to like keep playing. But there's enough other stuff that I do enjoy that I think that it is something worth, like spending your time on. But going in, if you haven't played this game, like going in, you should know that there's gonna be, if you're playing by yourself, it's gonna be a little bit more kind of way varied on how successful your matches are, and you could be playing at your best and you could just get completely destroyed by the enemy team. So it doesn't, it's not really clear cut. And again, I think it's just skewed towards playing as a group. And you can try to do that as a player. The best thing you can do is try to play as a group as a player. But if the other teammates aren't doing that, then you're not going to be able to be successful. And sometimes you have to just kind of deal with that and just play around in kind of the moments where you know things are probably not going to go that well, but and just kind of accept defeat and just have fun. But that's not always the best way, the most satisfying way to play this game. And I think that's definitely a problem with it. But yeah, I will see you in the next video. I've got a bunch more Overwatch videos too if you want to see more from me. And see you next time.